It has been a terrible week for the military, so I have been getting tons of requests to talk about this, so I want to discuss a little bit from a different perspective of someone in the military. What is up, guys? You're tuning in to Nikki MGTV for another video. As always, you can hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, or down in the comments below if you have questions, but as always, let's roll right into the topic. That is the week of chaos that has ensued pretty much across the world at this point for the military. And what I want to do with this video is, first off, dedicate it to every person that has lost their lives in the past week. It has been very crazy this week, and I think if I don't put that out as the first priority of what is important is that people's lives were lost, then this video isn't in the right direction. And so I just want to give my condolences to all those people that did lose somebody. I obviously did know Oscar. I did know people that knew people in the shootings over in Pensacola as well. So it is a very, very small military, and I promise you guys, these have ripple effects throughout the entire military. I feel bad making two videos back to back now that have been very sad. The video with our buddy Oscar, that was a subscriber family here on the channel of Nikki MGTV, sadly passed away at Fort Story while he was standing watch. That was the first one where there was a gate runner. And then over in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor, there was a sailor which took the lives of two people, sadly, and then himself. And I've been to Pearl before. I don't remember the specifics of where all this happened, but again, it's pretty crazy. But that I'm going to dive into the last thing that happened today, which everybody wanted my reaction to. And the last was a Saudi man which took the lives of 3 people and then injured 8 others. So there was 11 total. He was supposedly in training for flying stuff. But this happened in Pensacola, Florida. Again, a big area for naval base stuff as far as aviation goes, if you guys aren't aware. A lot of talk about all these things of what is right. Is it right to give people more firearms that live on base or that go to base? Make it okay for carry for service members? Or, what is the answer to this? Is it more security? And I can give some good perspective here because I was here. Not here, but I was at my hometown, which has a military base, Naval Air Station Pax River, following the 9/11 attacks. So when you look at this, just like if something was to happen in a subway or whatever else, like people still have to commute every single day. People still have to go to work every day. So how strict can you make security and all that burden the fact of just going to their job? Are we going to put detectors everywhere? We can take this to the 10th degree, but then people are going against the idea of service members having weapons on base as well, because obviously we have discussed previously this year about suicide rates as well. So there's a lot of ways that we could tackle this, but I don't think this is going to be solved in a quick swoop. Next, I know that we think about the military in general as having the elite, the best, whatever you want to call it. And it is its own embodiment of what it represents, right? And it can't be affected by all these other things. But I think as we look forward, we see that the military is literally a representation of the outside world. And let's take, for example, something as basic as simple as officers in the military versus enlisted. I remember there was an admiral that came to our duty station in Rota, Spain, and someone said, why are there not more people of color having degrees and being officers? And she blatantly put to the sailor and said, it's because that's what the culture outside the military represents. And there are less minorities that do have degrees and things like that. Why we're not seeing that translation exactly yet. But what I wanted to say is, on top of that reflection from just the college aspect, looking at mental health, suicide, all that, the active shooter stuff, all that kind of stuff is going to translate as well at some point into the military, because this is life. We are people. We are all part of this. And I'm not saying that is okay to have those things happen, because obviously when you think about it, our mission in the military is one thing. That is prepare for the worst. And what I mean is against adversaries outside of our country or people that are trying to threaten us. And when we are having to worry about people inside doing things that are bad that we've thought that are good and things like that, that detracts from our mission and our ability to do what we do best, and obviously diverts attention to other places. And I know a lot of people are going to probably ask me about gun control and all this other stuff that now goes on with this, or maybe how military people are trained. Most military people are not working with weapons on a regular basis. For example, I'm a hospital corpsman. I haven't touched a weapon in 2 years, but depending on the branch as well, you look at Marines, they shoot once a year. Depending on the job, if you're a Master of Arms, you shoot once a year. That's the security folk. And then if you look at maybe someone that's a gunner's mate, is going to work with them all the time. So it's a variability of how often military actually work with them, and I think that's often a misconception as well. And lastly, I wanted to say that as far as security on a military base, I feel very safe on base all the time because, and we joke that there's nothing going on base, which most times, from the perspective of someone that's not security, there's not too much going on. And I've asked about Master Arms as well. Usually there's not anything crazy going on, but there's usually something going on where they're enforcing traffic laws or whatever else. But I will say on base, I feel safe in comparison to if I was not on a base. You obviously have quick response. You have all these different law enforcement that are able to be in places in seconds. And there's more awareness and control of what's going on the base than typically what's going on the regular civilian streets. If you do look at probably the distance or the amount of space that a military law enforcement officer of some kind, whatever branch, they're probably covering less area than some civilian counterparts are covering from what I can tell. If you look at naval bases, for example, a lot of them are not very big if they're right on the water, in comparison to something like, as big as 20 Palms, California, Marine Corps base that's up there, where it's vast and huge. But I will say that's in comparison to where these places are located. So at least I can appreciate that these happened in areas that it is condensed and it was able to be controlled quite quickly, versus maybe this person running off or something like that. But as always, you can hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, or down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.